Oh, there he is.
My grandfather used to tell stories. Hey, hands off!
To you. What in the fuck? Give me a house. Who's this? Like, once I can chalk up to weirdness, the fact this happened twice is just getting worrying. Moving swiftly along, today we have two goals to get done. One of them kinda minor, one of them pretty major. So the minor goal is I want to go back to that bandit camp and clear out the last little dregs of what I missed, get some money so that we've got some gold for the road ahead. The second part is we are now starting the main story in a major way. The Greybeards are a very important part of the story and we are going to make our way to Ivarstead and then do the 1,000 stairs climb up to their base. Now some people will probably fight me on saying whether this is the major part or not, considering we just went and fought a dragon, but it was the first dragon, it was a baby dragon, and barely even counts. Right, first on to the minor goal, clearing out what's left of this bandit camp. First thing we have to do is avoid Lydia's pond. I can't go near that anymore because I don't want to spend the next half hour editing it out and going back through and re-editing to make sure that I don't accidentally have any exposure of indecent mods. Glancing completely past that though, the main thing we gotta do is we gotta get into this bandit camp, pick up what's left of the bodies, and then go into the actual cave section, which we never had a chance to before. While this is marked down as a minor goal, this is going to be our last chance to get a decent amount of gold before we carry on up to the next couple of towns and next couple of missions. The camp's also going to be a good indication of how we're doing level wise just now, because while we have been gaining quite a lot of levels, I haven't done much in the way of changing gear. In fact, I'm still in the starter gear that I got from Helgen originally. That's been something that I've worried about quite a bit because gear's very important in this game, and I've not really been finding anything better or improving what I've got because I am locking myself out of a couple of boring gameplay loops. But I'll get into that a little bit more later on. After figuring out that I've cleared out the outside of this bandit camp fairly well, I then just start to prepare myself to get ready to head in. Very important that we summon Wolfie, our spiritual companion, who isn't really good for much, but he's great emotional support. Now this small bandit encampment that I am descending upon right now isn't very assuming. There's not a whole lot here. The most I've got is about 10 or so bandits in here with a half decent little bit of loot kicking about. It's clear that they moved into what was the remnants of a mine or a hunting camp that existed here before, but they well set up shop as well as made their presence known in the area, which makes these guys absolute perfect fodder for us to test our skills and see how far we've come. Now I thought that the worst thing that was going to be in this place was going to be the enemies that we had to fight, because there's a few here and some of it can be a little bit tricky. Especially with, as we've talked about before, some of these NPCs are a hell of a lot harder than I remember and have any business being. Good. With the remnants of the bandits quelled, we pushed further into the cave, triggering the traps as I do not trust myself whatsoever. Now you'd be forgiven for thinking that now that we took out all the enemies that this cave would be relatively safe. But unfortunately for us, the most dangerous thing in this cave wasn't the bandits at all. In fact, nowhere even close was it the bandits. It was in fact this chest. This fucking chest. And finally, chest. Well, that seemed strange, didn't it? Most likely a fluke. Had to be.
Why would I do that?
And then I noticed I had the joy of having to fight my way back through every single one of those bandits again because I raw dogged that chest. Didn't put a quick save down, not after fighting it, nothing. But this time I remembered to set a quick save because I remembered I trust this game less than cryptocurrency.
Jesus Christ, what is in this chest?
Do you know what the definition of insanity is?
Right. Now if I stand down here and open it. Oh my god, this chest is just crashing the game.
Would you look at that, we figured it out after the third try. Surely this means that's the last time we're gonna touch it, right?
Leaving you the fuck alone.
Now deeper into the cave, you come out to another exit, or what looks like an exit. But unfortunately what you're led into is a bandit trap, which you can see that some wildlife has fell into, and some poor unfortunate merchant. Me too, buddy.
That scared the shit out of me.
And then I did a not very smart thing. I found another chest. It was locked, but I didn't think twice about quick saving first. Thankfully, we were alright.
Look, we'll try this one last time. Nah, that chest is definitely fucked.
Only took me 4 tries to figure it out. 4 more crashes to the crash counter, and while that looked like a few minutes for you, that was about an hour of my life. And once we're back outside, it's only a minute or two to run back to Whiterun and unload all of this gear that we picked up and avoid the corpse of Lydia, because once again, not doing this to myself. Focusing on the small number of victories in Helena's life right now though, Wolfie has managed to win his very first 1v1, completing the first milestone in his character arc.
Fucking yes! You're better than a regular wolf now.
After arriving back at town without incident, I helped myself to the body of this poor bandit who got lost in physics and has arrived here, because he's not making use of his armour, I may as well sell it.
Gents.
Now that we're back in town, we do our well-established circuit of the traders. Starting with our very, very slow crawl over to the blacksmith so we can hawk our crap.
You'll buy it for 42 quid. It's worth like 150. Fucking scam artist.
And selling that armor junk, we actually managed to get enough for a solid level up as well. That's going to go a long way to helping our health for these next upcoming fights. And for our second stop, we paid a visit to the town's one and only racketeer. And then finally it's time to sell our essential oils we found to the town's local aromatherapist. With those out of hand and much needed gold now in hand, we do have one very important stop to make. Now in here is the Drunken Huntsman, and what can be found in here is terrible prices for alcohol, but more importantly, mercenaries, one of which would be Janasa. Now Janasa is one of the very best Ilion followers that you can have, if my memory serves, and now that we have her, things should get a hell of a lot easier for this climb.
I'm afraid of what that does.
And with that, we have follower number 2. So let's hope that this one lives longer, which wouldn't take very much at this point. But focusing on the future, let's head on out. Right, now, the next step. We've already accomplished the minor goal, even got a second follower, so the main place that we need to get next is High Hrothgar, which we need to first get to Ivarstead, which is a very base so we can take the 1,000 steps up to possibly the tallest place in all of Skyrim. Now, there is 2 different roads you can take. You can either take the road up through past Helgen, or you can take the low road, which is down through a couple of rivers and around the long side of the mountain, which we are not doing. We are going to be taking the road up through Riverwood, up past Helgen, maybe even through Helgen, and carrying on from there until we get to Ivarstead. That seems the most logical path that we can take right now, as well as the most straight line of a path that we can take. Now this trip should be fairly uneventful, and while it's fairly uneventful, there is quite a lot of scenic views to do. But while we're doing this, I'm going to take this time to outline a couple of things that I want to be doing with this playthrough, as it mostly begins from here on out. Mainly I'm wanting to come back to the rules that I was talking about earlier that I was setting out for myself. Number one of these rules for myself is going to be no fast travel. Fast travel's in the game, it's a great part of it, it's convenient, it's good for the rest of the game when you're trying to get around or get places fast. Well, duh, hence the name. But in my opinion, it's not valid for this playthrough. I'm in this for VR, I'm in this for immersion. If I'm wanting to run around and skip corners, I may as well be playing on a flat screen, because what's the point? I'm wanting to immerse myself in it, so I should immerse myself in it as far as I can. Part number two, I am trying to avoid the common exploit routes for Skyrim, meaning I don't want to do blacksmithing, I don't want to do enchanting, I want to just be in and about the game, not spending hours trying to craft the perfect item that's going to one-shot every enemy, because I feel that just takes away from it. I am going to be looting and using what I can find. I may up some skills in alchemy from crafting some things, I may resort to smelting and smithing some things, but I'm not going to focus on making gear for myself. That is straight out, I'm not doing that. Number three, probably very obvious, exploits are just out. I cannot be using exploits. Anything that would give me an unfair advantage or break the game, I just feel isn't in the spirit of what we're trying to do. I have went for as much realism as possible for playing this. I am going to keep to it. Now the one outlier that I haven't decided on for this part yet is difficulty. I had an idea that I was going to bump difficulty up because I remembered the game being much easier. I was bumping things up to legendary before and not really caring too much, especially when you start to hit the higher levels. That's not happened. Things seem to be scaling with me, or at least most of the bandits have. I don't want to think how it's gonna go, but if I start to feel it's getting too easy, if the fights are becoming very trivial, I'll up the difficulty and then see where we get then. But as of right now, there's definitely no issue. I am still dying, fights are still difficult. The more important part of all of this is, what direction am I taking with this? Right now, I am just focusing on having fun with it. I'm kind of going down the idea that I want to get spells next, so the College of Winterhold might be in my near future, but obviously we need to get High Health Hrothgar done first. We need to get on with the next part of the quest. If they align, I'll maybe push for it, but upping my magic is a very big one for me, because magic is something I really want to see where it goes in this playthrough. We've got Conduit, we've got newer spells, we've got newer abilities, we've got better progression. I want to see the extent of it. I want to see the Skyrim that could have been. But that is enough of that. Now it's time to get back to the actual game. On the approach to Helgen, you'll notice that the gates are now shut again, and on the outside you can see what looks like a couple of keep out signs. Very nice penmanship. After letting ourselves in, we can see that there is new residents of Helgen, which seems to be a group of local bandits that have moved in on the place. This bandit infestation seems to be sweeping around the lands, but it's better that we just stamp it out as and when we find it. Like right now, we can get a little bit liberal with the fire. It's not like the place is going to burn down for a second time. After my and Janas's first analysis, we noticed that the rot of this place runs a bit deeper than expected. There's a lot more bandits than what I remember being here once again, because there were 6 at the front, and then around the back we found there was even more, and then a couple more hidden up the tower, defending what was a very, very lackluster chest. I didn't have high expectations, but I was hoping for more than that. And after that disappointment, it was time to put Helgen behind us for a second time, but in a new direction. We follow the path through the town, and then we happen across a Stormcloak encampment, but there's not really much you can do to interact with them at the moment. Either way, I wasn't going to care about it. I just wanted to get on moving because night was starting to fall and it was going to make travelling a hell of a lot more difficult. Now, I'm not going to brighten it this time as I've got the candlelight out, but the candlelight only helps so much. As you can see, about 20 or 30 feet in front of me, it gets damn near pitch black without any sign of a light source. At least on the PC, you can balance out your gamma somewhat. You cannot do this with a VR setup. If they want it to be dark, it is just pitch black, and you just have to live with it. Using the mage light and candlelight spells actually becomes a necessity. But one of the few hidden features I noticed about all this was, even though it was pitch black and I couldn't see where I was going, every now and again there was a signpost that I could use to actually find my way around. It was leading me in the correct directions, which I don't know if there's been a game in the last 6 years that has had that level of detail to it, where I can actually follow place to place without looking at a map and just use the signposts that are given to me. After much fumbling in the dark though, upon in the horizon we see a bridge And that bridge symbolizes not only we can see something, but that we have arrived in Ivarstead. And with arriving in Ivarstead, we triumphantly slap the sign before we head on into this inn to sleep away the night, because nighttime is scary and I can't see a damn thing.
Let me know if there's anything else you need.
And now that we're well rested from using this inn's room, we can head on out and start our 1,000-step climb. On the way though, I found myself admiring this small little village. It looks a hell of a lot better with these better resolutions. I think there's a lot of 2K texture packs or just a lot of overhaul going on in this area. The place just looks great. Some of the textures might be standard, but I don't think very many of them are. I mean, just look at this bridge, it's genuinely gorgeous. Now the climb up these steps is very straightforward. There's only a couple of enemies, there's not much to do, but there is a couple of people that you can speak to, or you can find out a little bit more about people often making this pilgrimage and having some spiritual significance, as well as them dwelling on their ancestors. Instead of all that though, I'm going to let this play in the background and I am going to rant about the goddamn nightmare that I found with editing. Now this one's took me a little bit longer to edit overall, just because I've had a lot of life stuff going on. But even outside of the life stuff, the video editing just hates me. Like, straight up hates me. I have been trying to figure out how to do subtitles much better, and one of the things that it asked me to do was you can use the Adobe Premiere setup so that you can translate and transcribe all of the audio that's already in there. You just have to right click, cover the audio that's on this selection that you want, and then it will automatically transcribe everything that is said during that clip. Now this clip must work great for Americans and the English. Do you know who it really hates though? It does not like the Scottish accent, not even a little bit. It wasn't even detecting I was speaking English when I set it to auto, and that thing took me about 10-20 minutes to figure out how to reset on its own. And then when I'm not struggling with the actual software itself, what I am struggling with is how the hell do I make some of this boring part entertaining? The fights are a lot of the same thing because I don't have the immersive battle that I do with, say, Grimlord, or with I have other things, but Skyrim holds its own special little place for me. I love it. The story's amazing, the place is amazing, the fighting can just get a little bit boring. So I've been struggling with how to edit down faster, how to get faster. I've been getting better with shortcuts, I've been doing a bunch of other things, but it takes me so much longer compared to other people. I've been comparing myself far too much to other channels right now. I'm seeing where they've gotten in 6 months, and I can see that some have exploded, some have gave up, but when I'm trying to figure out where I am between those two, as a sort of scale of 1 to 10, I'm finding that I'm a lot closer to the ones that have given up than I am to the ones that have done well. The biggest one I'm struggling with is the fact that editing takes up so much of my time. I understand it's something I gotta keep doing to get faster, but it takes a lot of time, especially long form, and it's far too easy just to decide I'm gonna do shorts. I'm not the best at shorts, I'm still learning what I'm doing there. Everything I'm learning on shorts is just small scale what I'm learning for the large form editing. All of this to say, long story short, I'm still learning. I'm struggling to find the time to put in the amount that everyone else wants to do. Like, trying to do the Mr. Beast subtitles alone would take me hours, not only just because I can't use the automatic version, but because that's just the time sink I don't have. I have far too many other things going on in my life at the time to be able to focus on this solely. Number one, I am already a 9 to 5, so most of my week is spent working, and then the rest of the time is spent trying not to stress out about work. That's not to say I'm not enjoying it though. This is more of just a, while I have your attention, this is an outlet for a rant that I have nowhere else to put, so I'm going to screaming into the void that is the internet. And if you happen to have any tips that could help me stress out less, get faster, or just some cheap tricks that might help me out, please go for it. Even if it's just a positive word, all of it will be appreciated, no matter what it is. Or hell, even if it's a negative piece of encouragement, go for it. And with that rant over and out the way with, we now arrive at the base of the Greybeard's home on High Hrothgar. And because that chest gave me trust issues, I am going to be quick saving near every chest and any door that looks like it could do me in. And with that, we just let ourselves straight into their creepy crypt of a home. I understand that they have to live at the top of a mountain, but I guess that nobody told them that they could still get an interior decorator. After not being very convinced I am who I said I was, they asked me to shout at them. This isn't enough to convince them that I am in fact a dragonborn that was summoned.
Oh, that's the one.
Now, tell me, Dragonborn, why have you come here?
You fucking called me.
The senile old men seemed to have forgot that they were the ones that told me to come here. They then decided to try to teach me more about the way of the voice. We then went straight into learning the second word of the Fus call as an unrelenting force. So we get to learn the second part of this, which makes the knockback much stronger, which is the roll part.
No, there's there.
This was the first part that they never explained. How does it get written down like this and then why does it glow? The second part I never got was then this. This is normally us getting a dragon soul that looks like this, but somehow I'm absorbing his knowledge.
Right, but why did that work? He's not a dragon.
And then asked to scream at 3 ghosts to make them go away.
There you go.
Impressive. Your thumb.
The dementia then kicks in and these guys decide that it's time for another lesson outside, despite the fact that they've just taught me one. They took offense to something though, so I had to run back inside to reset them several times before they would actually teach me the new shout. The new shout they want to teach me being Whirlwind, which lets you run real fast for about 20 feet. We then breathe in this old man smell to figure out how the hell the shout's supposed to work.
Why are you limping and ghostly?
We'll demonstrate whirlwind sprint. Then it will be your turn.
After being shown how the shout's supposed to work, where I'm supposed to run through these gates quickly before they shut behind us in some weird form of Old Man X games, we batter it out fairly quickly, nailing it the first time. Or at least the first time that you're gonna see, to which Arngeir tells me that there is another third part that we need to do, where these guys have left their horn somewhere in a crypt. So the next step that we need to make is to collect this horn of Jurgen Windcaller, which is clear across the map, but this is where I'm going to be calling it today. So next time, the 2 goals that we want to do are, we're going to be going to the College of Winterhold to be able to upgrade our magic a little bit, then we're going to head on down to collect this Horn of Windcaller. And with that, that is everything I have for today. I would love to say that I'll see you in 2 weeks, but God knows how long it's going to take me to edit the next part of this, because this one took me 3 weeks. Like, I am actually recording these lines a week after this should have been out. I gotta do something to get better. But either way, if you enjoyed this, do what you're gonna do. Comment, say something. I am reading every comment that there is just now, because there's not a whole lot going on in my life that is gonna stop me. But if you like this, consider subscribing, consider doing all the nonsense, and hopefully, I'll see you in the next one.